Ever feel like you're just going through the motions?
Stuck in the daily grind.
Yeah, like there's got to be more to life than this.
Well, some spiritual traditions, they actually they encourage us to die while living to find that deeper meaning.
Okay, so you won't need a defibrillator for this episode, don't
No,
worry.
no.
We're diving into this fascinating world of Saint Matt, trying to uncover what dying while living really means, and more importantly, what it can do for you.
It's a great question to explore. Saint Matt is all about, consciously shifting your attention inward to connect with a deeper part of yourself. And they use meditation on inner light and sound to do this,
Right.
often with the guidance of a living master.
Okay, and we've got excerpts from a book all about this, The Teachings of Saint Matt. And it's full of these intriguing dialogues between a master and these seekers. And one line that really stopped me in my tracks was, I die daily.
Mm.
I have to admit, when I first read that, I thought maybe there was a typo.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those phrases that makes you pay attention. But in Saint Matt, dying while living isn't about physically dying every day.
Okay.
It's a metaphor
Okay.
for consciously withdrawing your awareness from the outside world and turning it inward.
So instead of my morning coffee, I should be practicing, like dying. Sign me up. But seriously, what does that look like in practice?
Okay, so think of it like this. At the time of death, our soul withdraws from our physical body, right? Dying while living echoes that process. It's about becoming familiar with that inward shift of consciousness, but instead of it being a one-time event, it becomes a practice you can cultivate daily. The idea is that by doing this, you purify your consciousness and connect with a reality beyond the physical senses.
Okay. Starting to get a better picture here. And actually reminds me of this analogy the book uses. It talks about pulling a cloth off a thorny bush. If you yank it off all at once, you're going to rip it to shreds. But if you slowly and carefully remove it thorn by thorn, it's much, much less damaging.
Yeah.
And the book connects this to withdrawing your consciousness in meditation.
That's a really powerful image, and it highlights something crucial about this practice. It's not about forcing anything.
Right.
Just like yanking that cloth wouldn't end well, trying to force your mind into a certain state can be jarring. St. Matt stresses a gradual, gentle approach to meditation, allowing for a safe and, importantly, sustainable practice over time.
You know, it's interesting how this tradition views meditation as a kind of preparation for death. The book actually calls it a rehearsal for death.
Yeah.
And while I'm all for self-improvement, that phrase makes you stop and think,
Yeah.
Is the idea here to like make meditation feel morbid?
Not at all. It's not about dwelling on death in a negative way or becoming obsessed with it. Think of it more like familiarizing yourself with the process. Just like an actor rehearsing their lines, regularly practicing this inward withdrawal through meditation can make the actual transition at the time of death smoother. You're removing the fear of the unknown by making the inner journey more familiar.
So it's less about being preoccupied with death itself and more about like becoming comfortable with that process of letting go,
Exactly.
which I can see how that'd be so valuable, not just at the end of life, but even in our everyday like experiences.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're constantly facing these little deaths in life.
Right.
Moments where we have to let go of something, an idea, a relationship, a version of ourselves that no longer serves us. And just like practicing that inward shift in meditation, facing those transitions with awareness and a sense of peace can be incredibly liberating.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, the book mentions that some people experience unusual things during meditation, like numbness, or a feeling of being separate from their body.
Yeah.
It even talks about a feeling of duality, like we are in it and yet we are out of it.
Right.
Should I be worried if my leg goes numb while I'm meditating? Should I keep a defibrillator handy just in case?
I think you'll be all right without the defibrillator.
Okay.
Those kinds of experiences are actually quite natural as you start to detach from your physical senses and go inward,
Okay.
which it makes sense, right? If you're shifting your attention away from your body, it's only natural that you might experience a sense of numbness or separation. The book actually reassures us that these sensations are nothing to fear, just part of the process of withdrawing inward.
Okay, good to know. So let's talk about what we gain from all of this. It sounds like dying while living is about so much more than just preparing for a peaceful death. What are some of the benefits that we might experience in our everyday lives?
You're right. The benefits extend far beyond that final moment. When you practice dying while living, you're stepping back from the constant noise and demands of the external world,
Right.
creating space to connect with a deeper part of yourself. And this can lead to a greater sense of inner peace, a detachment from material desires, and a more profound understanding of life and death.
That makes sense. But we live in a world that's constantly demanding our attention.
Yeah.
There's always something to do, somewhere to be, somewhere to respond to. So how does this practice of dying while living help us navigate that constant hustle, that feeling of being overwhelmed?
It all comes down to perspective. Imagine being so caught up in the whirlwind of daily life that you miss out on the beauty and stillness within. This practice offers a way to step back, to hit the pause button amidst all the chaos. It's like finding a quiet space in a bustling city, a place to breathe, to reconnect with yourself, to see things with fresh eyes.
I love that image, finding that quiet space within. So it's not about escaping the world entirely. It's about finding that inner stillness amidst the chaos.
Yeah.
This whole idea of finding stillness amidst the chaos.
Yeah.
It reminds me of something else the book touches on.
Mm-hmm.
It talks about how dying while living can actually help us live more fully,
Yeah.
more authentically.
All right.
By letting go of our attachment to the physical world, we actually become more present,
Right.
more alive in a way.
That's a really beautiful way to put it. And it gets to the heart of what this practice is all about. It's not about, denying the world or becoming indifferent to life. It's about shifting our perspective so that we're not so attached to the fleeting pleasures and pains of the material world. And when we do that, when we loosen that grip, we create space for something much richer and more fulfilling to emerge.
So it's not about becoming some kind of unfeeling robot.
No.
It's actually becoming more connected to ourselves, to the world around us.
Yeah, exactly. The book describes it as a process of refinement. Think about it like this. When you remove impurities from gold, you're not diminishing the gold. You're actually enhancing its value. Its true nature shines through. And dying while living is kind of like that. It's about refining our consciousness. Removing the layers of conditioning and attachment that prevent us from experiencing the fullness of who we really are.
That's such a powerful analogy, refining ourselves to discover our true essence. I think that's something we can all relate to, even if we're not practicing Sant Mat.
Absolutely. It's a universal human aspiration, isn't it? To live authentically, to fulfill our potential, to experience true joy and fulfillment. And this practice offers a pathway to do just that.
So as we wrap up this deep dive on dying while living, what's the one thing you want our listener to take away from this conversation?
I think so often we go through life so focused on the external, achieving, acquiring, striving, that we miss out on the richness and depth of our inner world.
Right.
Dying while living, even for a few moments each day through meditation, allows us to explore that inner landscape. It allows us to connect with a part of ourselves that is beyond the physical body, beyond the limitations of the mind. And in that space, we might just discover a wellspring of peace, wisdom, and joy we never knew we had.
It's like we've been given a key to unlock this hidden dimension within ourselves. So to sum up this deep dive, dying while living isn't about, ending our life prematurely.
Right. It's about consciously shifting our attention inward, becoming more aware of our true nature, and maybe, becoming a little less afraid of death and a little more alive in the process.
And it leaves us with this really interesting question to ponder, I think. What aspects of your life, your beliefs, your habits might be holding you back from experiencing that fullness, that aliveness? What would it look like for you to practice dying to those limitations, to create space for something new and authentic to emerge?